And now everyone, please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to your host, Rob Catto.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Pleasure to be here, and welcome those of you that are here on campus with us, and also those of you that are joining us online. My name is Rob Catto. I am the program director for game design graduate degree and also the simulation and visualization degree here at Full Sail. So let's welcome our panelists today. First of all, Kim Elbert. Director of Creative Technology at DCI Artform. And then Elbert Perez. Co-founder and Chief Technology Officer at Doghead Studios. And finally, Brice Helman. Realist at Forward Thinking Design. So thank you, folks, for joining us today on this panel about technology in our industries. It seems like these days that technology is changing at a very, very rapid pace. Not too long ago, when you went to Disney and you saw the finale, it was all fireworks, and today it's all drones. So technology in your industries is what we're looking for and looking to talk about today. I've got a question that I'm going to ask all three of you, and I'd like each of you to answer based on your industry. But first of all, Kim, what industry are you actually working in?
Human Earth. No, I build interactive interiors, so as well as I'm a working artist. So it's a little bit, I think, different. So permanent fixture display, merging digital and physical products into retailer showroom environments is the nuts and bolts of my day job.
And Elbert, what industry are you working in?
So I work in synthetic worlds, basically virtual reality.
And Brice?
I work in themed entertainment with theme parks and cruise ships.
So in these industries that you folks are working in, what are three technologies that are changing the way you interact with your industry and how consumers will ultimately interact with them? Brice?
So it's kind of interesting for me because we actually kind of go the other way. We see a lot of consumer technologies that we need to start incorporating into permanent installations such as theme parks and cruise ships. One very particular technology is actually radio frequency based technologies. Things like Bluetooth, things like RFID, GPS navigation is part of what we do. In addition, there's this huge drive to keep upping the ante with broadcast standards and getting larger and larger pixel counts, on projection screens, and larger LED screens, and tighter pixel pitches, so that way we have a seamless HD screen. And now we're measuring things well beyond 4K. We're doing custom resolutions beyond 8K in some situations, and that really impacts infrastructure. That impacts how we're going to move that data around and how we're going to get it to onto its final medium, on the projection screen. And lastly, even VR is kind of coming my way into my industry, which is definitely a big thing for you guys, but now it's starting to seep into how guests experience attractions in the theme market.
So don't we reach a point where when we start getting past 8K that we get diminishing returns?
So that's the interesting thing is it's really about screen size now. Is we want this huge, bigger than life experience, and you can't just produce 4K content. Well, and originally it was done just HD content, so we're running 1080p, and then we throw it onto a 40-foot screen, and it's like, well, it looks cool if you're 100 feet back, but then the screen size still appears to be 45 inches. Like you're not gaining anything. So then we realized if we want to do a big screen, you have to do a custom resolution. And so they were creating content in this custom resolutions that I've dealt with before, and then you have to start doing weird projection blends. And then so now we're talking about doing 8K, just so that way you don't see the pixels anymore, and you can still get a foot away from the screen and just have it look absolutely amazing. So it's hard to get the right technology, set up so that way, yeah, it's this crazy higher def, resolution content that's not going to degrade when we try to move it, through a wire out of a projector or through whatever display technology you're using. So it's very difficult.
So what is the largest screen that you've worked with, and where was the installation?
The installation is actually present right now at MotionGate. Dubai is the largest one I've ever experienced. It's a 6-projector blend, all 4K projectors. The screen size, I forget the exact dimensions, is something to the effect of 50 feet wide by 20 feet high. And it's what's interesting about it is it's part of a dark ride experience. So it's actually a tracked dark ride vehicle that moves through, and it's projection inside this one scene. So the screen was so large that they had to use 6 Christie 4K projectors, edge blended, just to get the high def look that they were going for.
So you mentioned RFID.
Yeah. So we're exploring that right now. So in the past, I've worked with parade systems where the audio will follow a parade down the parade path through a theme park autonomously based on GPS tracking. The current place where I'm at right now is we have a show coming up that we're starting to do preliminary research for, where GPS is not an option for us because GPS drifts over time, it's susceptible to weather, cloud cover, tree cover in our particular case. So we're looking at RFID solutions. And RFID is going to be used to track moving vehicles in real time. If SunPass can do it, why can't we? So in addition to that, there's also a huge market in themed entertainment for theme parks for tracking guests. A certain theme park in the area already does this by recognizing RFID wristbands of guests and being able to track analytics based on that data. They're also starting to do location tracking and building that into analytics as well. So there's definitely an untapped market there where analytics can really take off by doing RFID tracking on guests.
Elbert, 3 technologies in your industry.
Well, it's kind of hard because right now VR is such an emerging technology that VR itself is the thing that drives it. But if I have to drill down, tracking pucks is a very big game changer right now. So HTC just released this, tracking puck this size that you can pretty much attach to anything. It has 6 pogo pins, so you can actually, do pass-in controls to it. So the examples of where it's been used is firefighter hoses. So they put the tracking puck in front of it, and firefighters can actually control the hose, and you'll have a kickback, and you can kind of, teach firefighters how to control the hose and track it accurately. Another thing, they put it on our baseball bats, tennis rackets, and you can really feel and do training using real-world objects, which is something of a limitation with the controllers because they're still they're an analog of an analog instead of the actual item you're holding with a tracker. Another thing that's changing the VR industry right now is having self-contained systems. So something like Intel, they're coming up with Project Alloy, Google's cooking something up, and then we have Magic Leap doing their own thing where they want to do VR, AR, MR systems in one thing that you can put on. Not like Daydream or Google Cardboard where you use a cell phone. And the reason why we don't want to use cell phones is because of thermal issues, right? Because VR is such a power hog that it will literally melt your phone if you run it for more than 20 minutes. And when they do their demos, they have ice packs. So for Gear VR, after they run it, they put it in an ice pack so it doesn't melt, or it'll melt the ice pack. So those self-contained systems are important because the wires, coming off your head is, something that people don't like. So there's that. And the third part would be screens, because right now, the biggest problem with VR is we still have the screen door effect. So the text is hard to read. So if you're trying to do anything that's productivity-wise, trying to read a lot of content, it's a little bit hard because you have to have them like this big. And we usually read text that's really small. So until the screens get to like 8K, like your industry, we're gonna have difficulty replacing LCD screens that we use. But once we hit 8K, wireless or tracking, then we literally won't have any need for monitors.
So in VR, you're addressing the visual component. Are there any other senses that are being addressed in virtual reality?
Of course, Rob will ask me this. Yes. So there's smell, obviously. So as Rob would always tell me, do not forget about the other senses, because virtual reality is not just about the visual aspect, right? Obviously, we have audio. There's binaural audio that's being driven through there, which is really adds a lot of impact to VR. Like literally, like I was testing out this experience of space station. It's like you can see outside in space. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm in a space station. And then I load up the binaural audio, which basically means you have full 3D audio of up, down, left, right, forward, back, not just the panning left and right. And literally my jaw dropped, oh my God. And my boss walked in like, oh, Elbert, what are you doing? Oh, just space station. Oh my God. So having that is really effective. And then when you add smell, and smell is one of our strongest, senses, because it lingers. Like smell is one of the tied to memory the longest. So we have a lot of associations with smell. Tactile feedback. We have taste as well as one of the more exotic ones. And then we have temperature. So the more we integrate these senses, the more effective our immersion is.
What's tactile feedback, and give us some examples of how it's been used?
So for tactile feedback, if you ever play with an Xbox controller or PlayStation controller, it's the rumble parts of it. There's force feedback that kind of gives you, it fights back to you. And it's tactile because how we actually perceive weight is actually through skin. So one of the cool things that I saw 2 years ago, I'm not sure what happened to this technology, but basically in order to simulate weight, you don't actually make an object heavier. You use plates to move your skin, to pull your skin down. And that's actually how we perceive weight. So if you do that, you feel like you're carrying some heavy object. So those are one of the few examples we do for tactile.
Thank you. Kim, 3 technologies.
Okay. Those are really good answers of really good stuff. I immediately want to be like, let's talk about defining mixed reality and virtual reality against simulations. And
No, we can do that.
Yeah, I know. We're going to get into some weird, how do we define this thing? Sorry, guys. So I think for me, there's a couple different things or stuff that I'm super interested in that aren't necessarily applied yet to me professionally, that are on my radar really heavily. And then a lot of stuff that we're using.
That was my next question.
Yeah, okay. Well, I won't get into that then. I'm going to try to keep them apart. So a lot of the stuff that we use, obviously virtual reality and augmented reality is really huge. And particularly in the augmented reality space, transparent touch screens. So something where you can see through completely like a window and then be able to bring up full density video and then have that video also be interactive within touch. That kind of glass is incredible for information design. It's incredible for navigating really complex understanding of applications, of navigating real world space and understanding things. So that's a pretty big one for me as far as the price point, getting to a place where we can use that in more interiors. And so that's one. This is hard. This is a hard list. I think, in a non-creepy way, face tracking is a really big one in my industry, and not in a we want to track you and follow you around and put pop-up ads in your face wherever you go, but in more of a, how do you behave and what do you like and what do you not like in a really holistic analytic way that's not in your face and obnoxious. I think we've all kind of seen at this point, or most of us, those little buttons after you do something and it's how did we do? Bad, not so bad, okay. And it's do you really think someone's gonna press that and that's at all useful? Because it's not. People are actually incredible liars. And there's a lot of studies about how, depending on how you ask someone a question or how you give them a feedback form, or if you give them a pen versus a pencil, that you'll get different information back on how they actually felt about the experience that they had. With a lot of face tracking, you can do emotion tracking, and you can tell from their face how they're actually experiencing something. So we use a lot of that to be able to, tell how things are working, and we're integrating more of that technology and to be able to distill down better for our clients and for our environments, to be able to know if the creative is resonating, if it's polarizing, if it's making people happy, if it's making them sad. And of course, tune everything up and make it better from there. I think that's 2.
One more.
One more? I don't know if I can talk about it.
Okay.
Okay.
You brought up 3. You brought up 3 different technologies: augmented reality,
Yeah.
mixed reality,
Yeah.
and virtual reality.
Yeah.
What are they, and what are the differences?
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, I can take that. That's easy. So I have like really strong opinions on this, especially like in our industry right now, because a lot of people will come up to me and they'll start talking to me about their VR project, and they'll get about 8 minutes in, and then I'll be like, "Oh, that's 360 video," and then they'll be like, "Yeah, it's virtual reality," and I'm like, "No, it's not. It's just 360 video." So I'm delegated myself to be a committee.
I'm in your camp.
Yeah, where like I would like us to design an infographic of like, to be a simulation, do you have a haptic? Yes, no. No, you're not a simulation. You know what I mean? Like we need to define this here
Flowchart, yeah,
at
that's
Hall
it
of
right
Fame and like like put it out there, because we need to have language for this industry to move forward. So augmented reality is a little bit like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You've got 2D and 3D objects composited in real time in an actual environment. So you have mixed of the two on top of each other, but that's it. You cannot go fully in, and you cannot come fully out. It's the two together. Virtual reality, which I think is like the master brand or the parent of a lot of these other things, that would mean that you can be fully immersed in an environment, that you no longer have your real, depth space stuff, that you've got a full screen, so you're completely in a, an HMD or in a room, whatever that is. And then mixed reality is the opportunity to go fully between all 3. So in mixed reality, I can see you like this. I can see snakes coming out of everybody's head, or I can be on, Mars and then you're all snakes. So, I can do all 3 within the same environment. And as Albert mentioned, that's kind of the holy grail of Magic Leap, and one of the things that I think everyone is really waiting for, because that is such a disruptive idea. And when it comes to technology and things that I really keep an eye on, it's, what is going to disrupt the landscape of how we do things right now, of how we behave right now. There's a ton of different ways that that's happened with NFC, with RFID, with frictionless commerce. That's my third. I got it.
Frictionless commerce?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, frictionless commerce.
And that is?
So, right? What is that? That's a new one. So I think the best example, if you want to look it up online, Amazon did this like pop-up store where you could basically, if you had your, your phone, your account active, you can walk in, literally take anything you want, and walk out, and they just charge you. You don't go to a checkout, you don't get a receipt, it gets emailed to you. It's literally frictionless. Like you walk in, you walk out. That's a huge, huge industry that's about to come out. If you haven't heard of it, like, get into it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty weird. It's going to get hacked. It's going to be nuts. Every single car is set up for it. That's probably the biggest industry that's pushing for frictionless commerce, is drive-through. So you'll be able to literally go through a drive-through, not pay for anything, and the car will pay for it for you. So any car that's built after like 2008 has a computer smart enough to do this and is ready for it. But of course, there's a bazillion regulations and adoption and all that kind of stuff that happens. Security, yeah. Because, I'm going to like drive through the diamond store with Rob Scar like 10 times.
But the thing is, though, to add that, we actually already use frictionless payment in our cars, right, with the Easy Pass in here in
Yeah.
Florida. So you just drive through, don't pay the toll. Or, I mean, you
But
pay
that's
the
like
toll.
government money, so that like is
Yeah.
allowed. Like,
Yeah.
it's all for all the other stuff, so I can like frictionlessly get like shoes or liquor
Yeah.
or whatever else I want.
That's true. I mean, you can steal it. I mean, it'll be frictionless.
That's the original frictionless commerce, is just
Stake it.
stealing. Yeah, totally.
Okay, what's on your radar?
I think mixed reality is a big one. There's a lot of conversation about there isn't a prototype for Magic Leap viewable, so there's a lot of talk about in like the tech world that they're doing optical projection, which is really interesting to me. As you can tell by my sweet frames, I have not gotten LASIK. I am truly afraid of lasers in my eyeballs because I need to see a lot. But I love the idea of it. Like, I really, really love the idea of it, and I love to be able to not have screens. So they've come out and kind of said that they're planning to disrupt the entire LCD television industry and like the screen industry in general, and you'll no longer need to have a screen in your home, that they can project the content directly into your eye, which is exciting. And I think that the adoption and my comfort, as well as probably most people will come as it becomes really tested and out there. So that's probably the most
What's that technology called?
mixed reality.
Virtual retinal display.
There you go. Okay.
Lasers to eyeballs.
Eyeball retina. Virtual retina display. Have you gone, Rob?
Have I tried it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to ask you while we're on camera. I feel like we're deposed. Like you can't lie if you're on the Full Sail panel.
Really?
Yeah. This is like the
I'm
most.
24 years old.
Alternate facts.
So yeah, that's a really big one for sure. I did a demo that's definitely on my radar, though I think the applications are probably more for Albert's camp than for mine. But I did an experience where I shook hands with a hologram, and it used like low frequency sound. So it used these like very, very dense speaker packs so that when he put his hand into the box, and it was being read by a 3D camera and it came back out the hologram, I could put my hand in and feel his hand. And it was really, really awesome. And it was like shaking a hand with this like ghost. It was really, really cool. I don't know how I want to use it for like an art project or something. But it was a really neat way of not having any technology and still having that physical feedback.
They've got a device that attaches to your phone where you can kiss somebody remotely.
Do I get to pick who?
It's random.
So have you tried, have any of you tried the HoloLens?
Yeah.
Yes.
They've got something now called Holo Streaming, where you can have somebody in Seattle with a 3D camera, and it converts it into a point cloud and then puts it into your HoloLens, and you can have a conversation with somebody remotely. And that's today. That's an app that's available if you've got a HoloLens to download and try. So we're getting real close to a lot of really cool things. So each of you has got a lot of technology in your worlds. And we've got an audience full of young people here that are going to be leaving Full Sail and entering into this new world. Where do you go to find out about new technology? Brice?
I feel so archaic compared to you guys because the themed entertainment industry is just so far behind. Like we use the same technologies for everything, and it's still speakers, wired up. It's still standard projection. I mean, yeah, we're doing 3D projection. We're doing 4D theaters, with moving seats and things like that. But it's, the closest that we've come actually to integrating virtual reality is there was a concept for a dark ride where you would actually be equipped with a VR headset, and you would be on the ride vehicle, but all of the elements would be in VR. Yeah. So it's basically just a dark concrete box with a ride vehicle in it. Because everything else is, your own personal experience.
It's cost effective.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's some maintenance issues there when you're talking about high ridership numbers and
Hygiene.
Yep, that's a big thing, and that's the huge challenge with adopting VR and AR into the mass broadcast market that is live entertainment. So that's really hard this is a really hard question for me to answer as far as it applies to my industry. And really for me, the way I would approach this for any up and coming technology, whether it's super awesome like VR or whether it's just a standard technology, that's an improvement upon what we already have, is I go to trade shows like all the time, and because it's my only time to actually go out and see what's new. I had to almost pay my entire way to go to Infocom last year, or in 2015, which was out in Vegas, because it was like I've been traveling all the time, and I don't have much time to do industry research, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Infocom just because I need to know what is coming down the pipe. And Infocom 2015, the buzzword was all AES67 digital audio. And it was like, okay, this is cool. Like now I need to know about this technology, and because that's going to affect me. That's going to disrupt my industry. And at the same time, I try to stay plugged in with all these special shows. And I guess CES is one thing that I need to add to my list, because as I keep seeing, a lot of consumer technologies keep going up to the professional world, not rippling down the other way. And some things are cyclical. So Yeah, so that's a tough one for me.
Isn't Tate Industries doing a lot of unique things?
You are correct. Their claim to fame right now, Tate Towers really made custom software for motor control and that type of thing. So there's a lot of show automation that's used in Broadway shows, also used in all the Cirque du Soleil events. That's all controlled. Disney uses their software as well for show control. So a lot of automated flying rigs for performers is all software based now. Mm-hmm. So you put in your limits, you put in your stop points, you say I want this to do this path, and there you go. You program it up and harness up your actor and
there you go.
Hit go and see you later.
Don't die.
Well, it's a good camera. A lot of our camera rigs are all motion control.
That is true.
It's the same
and actually drone-based camera ops is now a huge thing. So just 4 days ago, I was in a venue at the theme park, and we were tuning something, and all of a sudden I just hear this fan noise, and I'm like, what is going on? It's like 1 in the morning. We're the only ones here. I'm like, what is going on? And here they were doing a fly-through of the park, kind of capturing it. Awesome. I think they were doing a rehearsal run at that point, but it was like, this is really cool. Like they're going to do a whole promo video, over the park, and it's all shot with drones now, awesome. And that's the way to do it. Actually, during the grand opening ceremony, they had a whole light display that was done nothing but drones. And it's like there's a company that just does that. Like
Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the.
I think I saw something like that at the halftime show at the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Pre-recorded though.
Lady Gaga did something. Elbert, so where do you go for your insight into what's coming down the pike?
It's a little bit rough or tough because you could either go to Engadget or Gizmodo, but the thing is, with what's happening with the media is it's being controlled by the big people up there. So you need to actually find news sources more, I guess, alternatively. So a good place I go to is usually Reddit. Mm-hmm. For me, Reddit R Vive or Reddit R Oculus, because it's actually voted by the people, right? But then again, it's still kind of controlled. So, like you said earlier, you have to go to the trade conference, the shows too, and it's crazy. So if you don't go to the other countries' conferences, you won't even know what's happening in the other side of the world. For example, China. If you go to those conferences there, it's very different from the ones you see in America. They go full on VR last year. It's very different now this year because everyone's kind of like, oh, let's cash in on VR, and then suddenly they can't. They thought they could cash in on VR, but now they realize, oh, wait a minute, they're jumping the gun. VR is going to stay, but a lot of people are jumping the gun in terms of adoption and technology. It's not quite ready for cheaper and because they say cheaper, but they're actually degrading the experience pretty badly. So it kind of affects the whole industry that way. Another thing is you have to try things out. Maybe a company you follow releases a new API, new technology. For me, a lot of it's just trying it out, doing it, because I'm a prototyper at heart. So it's like, a new technology, I'm gonna slap that here, and then that's how you learn the best, right? By actually trying and doing, and that's what we are here at Full Sail. We're content creators, right? Or content integrators as well. So it's a matter of mixing it up, from top of the media down to your friend, to random sites, even going to foreign websites. When I visit Brazil, I go to Gizmodo, and it goes Gizmodo Brazil, and it's very eye-opening that what technology they focus on, because each country will have different focuses and different paths of technology.
I want to interject. You said you get your info from Reddit, or you do research on Reddit, which I absolutely love Reddit for that reason. So I shared a link with you the other day via Twitter about RFID.
Yes, you did.
And the research paper was super interesting about using your cell phone as it is right now, unbeknownst to you, and picking up the electromagnetic interference signatures of your device and using that to identify you and using that to track you. So I don't have to get any data from your phone. I just have to have a reader and pick up the EMI field around you and be able to track you that way and be able to perform analytics on you. And where I got that was from Reddit.
Oh, okay.
And so right now I'm doing research again on back to this show that I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to do RFID tracking, which would seem very simple of these very large vehicles. And I was like, okay, I'm looking for something very specific, and I don't know too much about RFID, and I'm just now starting to prototype it for myself. And I'm like, I need to go someplace where I can find out more of this.
RFID.
So a quick Google search, and the top link was RFID. I'm like, all right, well, I'll throw it out to the community. And I love it because it's like, it's just this crowdsourcing knowledge. And everyone there was just like, hey, what about this? What about this? And someone actually responded to me and says, in sort of a celebration over a 1-year milestone, they open sourced an entire RFID project, hardware included. So he gave me all the build files, all the code and everything. So now I'm like, awesome, I can prototype my own RFID hardware now based on their design that's proven to work. And I'm like, I can do so much with this. And it came out of Reddit. It came out of the goodness of strangers sharing information freely online. It's like, this is awesome.
And that's how we move forward.
Yeah,
that sharing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that collaboration is really important, and I think it's something that I saw when I was here, and it's something that I've definitely gravitated toward and fostered. I think it's. I mean, you shared that link with me. That's what we do when we're not here. We actually talk to each other and like each other.
Right. Well.
It's true.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I was thinking about that earlier because we're all hanging out in the green room earlier, and it's just like everyone's discussing ideas. It's like we all. All the famers get together, and then we just what are you doing in your industry? What are you doing at work? Tell me about what you're working on. And it's like, oh, I've got this great idea. Now, now you just resparked this. So it's awesome. It's like we all get together once a year and start sharing ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, peers are a big one for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've got a couple that are definitely. I mean, I use all the same stuff that they mentioned. I like conferences a lot. I recommend if you're on kind of the more emerging tech, new media, creative code kind of stuff, FITC, which is something that I've done for a number of years, that Elbert came and did as well. It's an awesome group of people. I mean, I've had the honor to speak and to meet the guys who I used to be in lab, looking at their projects 15 years ago, and now I've gotten to have them in a room and be like, okay, so back in the day, what was this thing in Flash? And they're like, dude, I have no idea. It's a really great conference. It's a mix of techs and artists and creatives. That said, the Creators Project, the partnership that Vice puts out is really, really great. It's awesome. The stuff they promote are just incredible. Incredible products, incredible people, incredible stories, incredible stuff. And then I get print because I'm a person who likes stuff. So there's a series that came out from Creative Applications called Hollow, H-O-L-O, and they've got their second edition out now, and it's all creative code, creative tech projects, and artists that are doing some really innovative stuff, which is amazing to get away from a screen and be reading some of the most mind-blowing technical stuff. And SIGGRAPH has been really, really big for me. I shook hands with that hologram from a guy who spoke absolutely no English, and I speak little to no Japanese, and we managed to have this very technical pantomime conversation on how this bizarre handshake hologram box worked. But I've done a number of things there that have just been incredible. I got to demo these life-size holograms that are 360 of Holocaust survivors that are going into the Holocaust Museum to be a legacy history project. And just, I could go on and on about these things that have just been kind of life-changing to see technology creating this really beautiful solution for, and I would have never had that without going.
I'd like to add something about conferences, though. So back in 2008, I think, or 2010, or whenever Oculus first showed off DK1 for the VR headset, I would not have been as inspired if I did not get to try it in a conference. I stood in line. Well, I didn't stand in line. I was, doing volunteer work for GDC, so they brought in the Oculus headset to the conference associates, the volunteer lounge, and I got to try it and got to talk to the people who did it. It wasn't like Palmer Lucky or anything, but some of the sales guys. But without that encounter in a conference, I would not have been inspired to do more VR work. So, getting the source from people, the people themselves is the best way to do it, and conferences are the best way to do that.
So Kim,
Yes, sir.
once you've seen something and you want to learn more about it, what's your process for figuring it out?
Usually I email you, Rob. Rob Catto is another great person to follow online. Rob posts like some of the best, most interesting tech stuff. Yeah, usually probably asking some folks that maybe have used it before, if it's something that other folks are familiar with. Maintaining that network and being really appreciative and, really gracious with the people who have information greater than mine in really other specialized areas. It took me a while because I come from like art and design, and I'm kind of a technologist as just like an inherent dork more than like a trained technologist. It took me a while to realize that they appreciate the skill that I have as much as I do theirs. Theirs is like this magic wizardry to me. So oftentimes I take for granted that they want to really talk about it a lot. So that's been really helpful and really great. I'm a little bit of a Googler, but I'm usually a buy it and try it. That's a big thing. Like I'd rather tinker and break. I belong to a couple different, art kind of space communities in Chicago where I'm based. And that's been really big too.
Does DCI give you any time to research?
They do. We have a really great prototyping kind of vehicle that's always been part of the company. Since we fabricate kind of physical and digital products, we have to kind of tinker and try. So it's really nice that we can build prototypes and we can fabricate in-house, and we have mechanical and electrical engineers. So that's a part of my job, which is one of the greatest parts of my job, is being able to kind of conceptualize these things that don't exist and then be like, all right, this is how much it's going to cost. Like, let's build it, not electrocute ourselves.
So you guys have an in-house rapid prototyping facility?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Yeah, that's kind of how they got me. So I was in more conventional advertising in the .com space as a digital strategist, while being an artist that worked in physical spaces and had built my own televisions for a number of shows. And DCI came to me with this project for Intel, running the Intel experience for them. And they were like, this is what we do. We have this big prototyping facility. We really embrace the merge of this digital and physical world. And having been in the experiential space and doing things that are really one-off, I really kind of fell in love with the idea of doing something that was permanent because it's such a challenge. So to what you said earlier, Brice, like it might be older technology, but that's because it won't break.
Right.
Like that's the thing. Like people
Right.
hammer on that stuff.
Right.
You've got the kids that come in
Right.
and they're just like, oh, can I break this button?
Yeah.
You have to be able to build for that.
There was a point at a project where we were doing some really new stuff with a particular platform we were using, and my boss just completely exasperated says, I just want to use something that works, because we were such on the cutting edge, trialing something like R&Ding something in real time in front of the client on site in production, basically. And it wasn't working. We were like almost there, but then he just said, there's something to be said about just going back to what that works.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for that too.
Yeah, we're making magic at
Yeah.
the end of the day,
Yeah.
and I think there's kind of this balance that you have to have between like what's the coolest, hottest, newest, and what's going to have the end result that you're looking for. Because if the end user is never going to see the man behind the curtain, then put that guy back there. You don't need to
Right.
make AI for that. Like, just put him back there. Like if that's the solution that makes it feel like magic, then that's what you do.
Sure.
Oftentimes I'm approached with a brief and they're like, we totally want a VR solution. And I'm like, this is totally not a VR problem. And it's really difficult because people get really jazzed up. They get really excited about technology. But it's important to know which technology fits and how to design something that actually serves the story or the outcome
Right.
or the feeling and the emotion that you want to have.
Albert, what's your process for figuring it out?
I just build things. A lot of it's task. Especially working in VR for the last 2 years, is like a lot of it's like, oh, can we do this? I don't know. Let's try it. And you do your research. Trying to figure out if someone has done it before. And a lot of times, no one has done it before, or the ask is such a ridiculous ask that you have to try it. And really, there's no better way to learn by actually doing it. You can read about it all you want, but you won't learn or build it without actually trying to build it. So it's pretty straightforward. There's no magic to it. You just have to do it.
Brice?
Yeah. So a lot of the new technologies I deal with are actually software based. It's a lot of network communication protocols I deal with, a lot of audio transport, control protocols, that type of thing. So what I do is I actually start reverse engineering the software. First thing I do is I open up Wireshark and I start looking at the bytes that are being transmitted over Ethernet. I start reverse engineering the protocol and figure out why it's communicating the way it is. And then sometimes if I can, I try to reverse engineer some of the software and try and look at the source code and be like, why is it made this way and all of that, and try and figuring out the mentality behind it. Sometimes, fortunately we're in the day and age back to the community mindset and sharing information where GitHub's the new Google. That's the place you go because everyone's willing to open source their project. And it's not that I'm going to just go in and copy your entire project, but I just want to understand how you did it. I want to know why this particular piece of software works the way it does, and how can I translate those same concepts into what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. When I'm dealing with new hardware, a lot of times I got to get my hands on it. I got to play with it, and give me an hour, and I'm just gonna keep playing with it until I understand it, understand how to use it. Very rarely do I turn to Google unless if I'm writing my own code project. Then you're just living on Stack Overflow. Like that's just the way it goes. But pretty much it's either my hands on it or I'm just gonna tear it apart and try and reverse engineer it.
So is there a person that is your go-to person when it comes to new technology?
Rob Catto.
Are you fishing? Like, is this like, are we getting?
No.
Are you fishing?
No.
I mean, you're up there.
No.
I don't
You
know
gotta
if
have
there's
a go-to person.
I mean,
it depends on the stuff, like there's definitely somebody, if I want to work with like laser tracking, like there's a dude I know is like, he's a LiDAR guy, like that's what I'm going to ask. There's some folks that work with more in the creative code work with just different types of things, and there's folks that are just kind of like really understand, the narrative piece of it and understand the beauty aspect of it and that, chronology of when you're in an experience of how the flow happens from when you first begin it all the way through to when you're thinking about it later and can put all those pieces together. So I don't think it's one thing. I don't really believe in like, the one and all tool, and I don't believe in like the one and all kind of go-to person, I guess.
I mean, a lot of it's just search engine, Google, Bing, that kind of stuff. And like I said, like having the subject matter experts. I mean, we've networked enough that we're lucky that we've networked enough that we will have a subject matter expert we can turn to, and it's never one single person because no one controls all the information.
It's a lot of mixed experience in my industry. I'm dealing with people that have been in the industry for 40 years and some for 30 years and all that. So I think this kind of plays into the question is we were working in one particular venue and we were actually tuning the stadium. It's a stunt show stadium. And the designer was there who has had so many credits to his name. And so he was like, all right, he's like, cool, I'll let you guys to it. Go ahead and do your thing, tune it however you want, blah, blah, blah. And we're kind of like, so, we're kind of thinking about doing this. And he was like, yeah, that's fine, or, whatever you want. And we kind of kept fishing for more information from him. And then finally we had to come out and say, it's like, Dale, I've never tuned a rig this big. I have no idea what to do. I know you have, and I'm searching for your help. I'm asking you what should we do? I know that this is our job, not yours, but I'm asking for your input here. So there's a lot of times where I'm working on a project with people either from different companies or even the same company, but have 40 years experience on me. That it's like I have no shame in asking, like, well, you've done this before. What can I do? At the same time, I still reach out to my instructors at Full Sail. There's times where I'm,
Sure.
I don't know. I'm sure maybe they've seen it before. So, I think there's always people that will mentor to you, that come at different times. Either they've been an instructor or they're just someone in the industry or I don't know. Sometimes I tweet you, Kim, and I'm like, check this out. What do I do? We
do, like the three of us do like really talk to each other, which makes it really funny. I do have someone though that I like came in and I don't want to forget to mention it. His name is Mike Campfield, and he owns Capcom in Chicago, and he's like an old school video installation guy. He used to do projected billboards in Times Square, and he's been an incredible support of me both artistically and professionally. And we met kind of haphazardly. I think he went to church with an old boss of mine like 10 years ago, and he needed to get some video shot, and I shot it, and he wound up loaning me projectors. And over the course of just being at a couple events with him, it was like piece by piece, all this information came out, and he had no idea how incredible it was to me. And he would be like, oh yeah, so when I was putting in the projectors for, Sandin's cave project at UIC, and I was like, excuse me, what? Which is a computer-aided virtual environment, which is amazing, and Sandin's amazing. And he's just this really humble man who doesn't understand that his what is basically a corporate AV company has really revolutionized and has been so ahead of the times and so much stuff. And there's often times where I get a little outside of my comfort zone. I'm like, I need to just make sure I'm totally right on this one. I've run some video by Cat 5, but this is a little bit longer than I'm used to. And he's a really big part of that.
Sometimes it's cool to reach out to the manufacturers too. I have a really good working relationship with several manufacturers in the U.S. and I have the direct cell phone of some of the R&D guys, and it's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you know about this?
Yeah, they made it because they love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Touch Designer is that way. The guys that wrote Touch Designer is two dudes in Toronto.
Yeah.
And if you're really great on their application, they're really supportive to people using it and the adoption and growing that community. So yeah, I think not having the fear to reach out, you'd be surprised how many people want to talk to you about it.
Absolutely.
As in software, you just email the people, the author, and usually they will reply because they're nice people.
Yeah.
Google Home, Alexa. What are your thoughts?
Log cabin. Real answer. I'm not a big home automation person. I like some of the stuff that's coming out as far as the sensor related stuff more for health and safety than the ease of home living and comfort. That kind of stuff to me is actually just creating a weird U-turn in a way for me to do the things that I'm already doing. And I'm actually a really big pro mobility person, physical mobility. I would prefer if my car had old school window things, because I think that there's a lot of just movement that my skeleton is missing in its life. So, log cabin.
Right. On the flip side of that, though, hold on. I've said the same thing. I'm like, are you really that lazy that you can't go flip the light switch and turn the lights on? And then the rebuttal from someone in particular who I said that to, they said, you don't realize how dependent you are on it until it's gone. And they said at first it's kind of just a cool gimmicky idea, awesome, I can do whatever by voice, or I don't have to turn on lights anymore or whatever. But then they said you just come to rely on it, and it's just now integrated into your life. So maybe you haven't given it a chance long enough.
Maybe I'm automation curious.
Okay.
I think I don't think that it's there. It's not seamless, and the price of doing a whole home, at least for my home.
Well, neither was VR 20 years ago when I was doing
In
it.
20 years, I'll do it, bud. So, this is where I'm at. This is for real. When we get to the point where I can be I can go this to my windows and the blinds open and it knows what temperature I want the lights to be in the morning. When I'm really there and I know I can be there, but I can't afford to be there.
Well, it's not just turning your lights on and off. It's turning your lights on and making them blue.
Yeah.
Or red.
Right.
But I wanted to just know that I'm in the room, that my signature, my form, I want there to be the cameras in the ceiling or whatever that know that it's me.
You mean your EMI signature?
Yeah.
We can make that happen.
Basically, yeah. Just implant the chip in my arm inside my tattoo, and that's what I want.
I mean, it already exists though, right? Nest. So for me, I've been so dependent on the Nest because I'm on the second floor, my thermostat's downstairs, so I just talk to my phone. Hey, set my temperature to 75 degrees.
Right.
Automation.
That's awesome because I don't have to put clothes on to go downstairs. And
I don't have it downstairs. I have no idea.
once you have downstairs, then you're
Cool.
Do you see automation's use in your industries?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kim, you were saying like it's not ready yet, and that is the problem with home automation. So like if I were to design you a Crestron or an AMX system for your suite,
Yeah.
it's going to completely work exactly like you want because I can develop you a custom solution.
I cannot afford you.
All the sensors and all that. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, but I mean that's what we do in the professional world. I mean, every cruise ship project that we do, there's an owner suite that has just unbelievable tech, and it's all ran from the iPhone of the owner, right? And it's everything that you want it to be. But there's a lot of professional products and a lot of custom coding and a lot of custom developed products. And the problem is that hasn't trickled down, that cohesive family of products hasn't trickled down into the consumer market yet. So, I mean, going back to my first answer of, well, there's a lot of things in the consumer market that go back into the professional realm. There's things that are coming home. Yes, we have the smart home products, and we have smart things, and we have Nest, and we have Philips Hue, and all of that. And it's like, great, but then trying to get your Alexa to communicate and control your Nest and your Philips Hue and all of that, it's all different manufacturers, and that's the big problem. And I think you said it best last year, engineers love standards, that's why we have so many. Well, the problem is we have too many now in the consumer realm for home automation, and now nothing is working together. It's cool, I can buy in and I can turn on that light and make it blue. But that's one app. And then if I want to change the temperature, I have to open up the Nest app. And it's like I just want to walk into a room and know it's me. And
I'm doing it all through Google Home right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Nest.
wait until now all of a sudden
Lights,
you want to unlock your
locks.
front door.
Yeah.
Or you want to,
All through Google Home.
Google Home so far has the most universal ability
it
to
is.
control things.
I mean, but that's because it's powered by Google, who is the all-knowing, machine.
And because Rob got it all to talk to each other.
Right.
Like, that's the other thing. Like, let's not forget that, like, Rob's not going to come into my house and sort this out.
Correct. Yeah. And,
Maybe.
until your average,
Yeah.
middle-aged person that's not quite as familiar with technology can go to the store and buy everything and set it up themselves without having to, play with APIs to get things to talk to each other. Until that happens, then we are 20 years away before it really becomes commonplace.
And an integrated solution, just to interject before Rob can start talking. I own a condominium in a building that was built in the late 60s, so I can't get a Nest. There's just certain things that I can't do certain smart things to my home because I live in this bizarre building that has fully radiated floors and a cement structure from the 60s. Log cabin.
I'm sorry.
Do not be sorry. It's really rad.
And back to broadcast standards, I mean, it's going to be really impossible to get 4K streamed, uncompressed to your house because the infrastructure isn't there. I mean, it's cool that Google Fiber is rolling out, and Verizon Fios and all these things is great. We're getting faster and faster internet, so we can start streaming via internet, but it will never come over cable. Cable is just not fast enough.
And that gets into accessibility, which is also a really big part of technology and a really important issue as technologists that you have to always be considerate of is when you have certain advancements, are those advancements actually accessible to all people?
Right.
And particularly when it comes to high definition video or exclusive content, virtual reality, new mediums and things like that. How do we ensure, as an entire population that we're giving access to these technologies? Because the ideas and the creativity comes from all people. And we're going to have the most advancements moving forward if we allow all people access to these things.
It's like when they flipped the switch and went to HD broadcasting, and how many people with rabbit ears, old school TVs, all of a sudden you're inconveniencing those, and what percentage of the population did that affect? I mean, that was serious. And it's trying to move forward when we're talking about okay, we're now going to start broadcasting, even just the HD thing, it's man, this news station is now going to start broadcasting in HD, and it breaks everything. Or for a long time, my parents had an older school TV, and then they went to 16:9 format, and then all of a sudden you're missing a quarter of the content on the screen. And it's how do we keep moving forward with new technologies, especially things that really disrupt your life? All of a sudden there is no TV anymore. Now it's a thing you strap to your face. How do you make that accessible? And then who's losing out then? What sector of the consumer market is now, not getting access to information?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great question. I wish I had the answer.
I know, and that's the problem when you start doing R&D and you really want to disrupt the market. You want to do something cool and you want it to catch on. But that's why things that are truly what we say futuristic right now is hard to adopt by the masses just because it's so disruptive. That's
right. Well, I think it's gonna get easier, more accelerated, because if you think about 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago, just for APIs, application programming interfaces. So, Facebook, Google, all the big companies, Microsoft, they now have more open APIs that you can integrate to. So what's happening now is, the future is becoming about connecting existing technologies to create new products. So you don't have to be creating exotic things. I mean, VR, has been around forever, but because the technology surrounding it has actually risen up to actually become something that we can afford, something that is actually usable, then that's where it is. So there's a lot of things that we have yet to invent that's just really around us, and just connecting, wood plus metal. What do we get from that, And that's how we invent things, and future is born.
So technology is changing at an ever faster rate, and I don't think 20 years is what we're going to have to wait. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to get a lot of this stuff that we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. So Elbert, in your industry, in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you predict?
In 5 to 10 years, I'm wearing these glasses, but I'm probably looking at you guys with, like Kim said, snakes on your head. And you even notice I'm doing that, or, labeling each one of you, oh, this guy's sleeping as a teacher, or this one's not taking good notes. So it will be technology, as it is always, becomes part of our lives, right? I mean, if we transported someone from 50 years ago to now, they'd be like, what is happening here? Why are they talking to mics? What are those slab things that they're holding? The cell phones, right? It's crazy.
I love that statistic that the original iPhone is more powerful than the computer they used to send a man to the moon. To the moon. Have any of you been to the moon? Have any of you with iPhones figured out how to get to the moon? That's crazy. I think for me, the biggest thing that I'm looking for is modular immersive design. So being able to take what's referred to as like a black box gallery or a black box store, a room, an empty room, and be able to create kind of modular grid-based systems or geometric systems to have it morph into any kind of environment and be able to put someone either through ocular projection,
Virtual retinal display.
virtual retina display, or a regular HMD. I'm not I'll believe it when it's in my eye. I'm ready for it. I'm terrified by it. I'm excited about it. And really be able to make that room anything. So whether it's, a strip mall where you can literally be in the most gorgeous, gigantic Macy's you've ever dreamed of, or, in the, shopping in the same strip mall next door, you can be walking through doing some kind of crazy sci-fi adventure because Brice opened up like an amusement park pop-up next door to there. Like that's kind of where I think we're going to be a lot quicker than we think, and it's that marriage of all the things working together, of the robotic industry having the ability to talk within the software industry being able to pump through into the display industry, the haptics being able to give you all of these multi-sensor pieces to really feel like you're there. And I think it's going to be within the next 5 years that we have that, and I'm really excited about it because it levels the ability to be in many places without having to move to another place. We forget, a lot of us that travel or move from point A to point B or go internationally, for those that are online, they're experiencing this firsthand, where they are in a digital environment experiencing us in a physical environment. So they're living this thing where, within the next 5 years, every single empty chair that's here, those will be holograms of them, and we'll be able to see them there, and they'll be able to interact with us. And I'm really excited about the types of community that can build, so that, people who are interested in the same weird esoteric stuff that I am, we can get together and talk about it.
Brice?
So as Kim, you were just talking, and I'm now thinking about well, this is all ways that we interact with technology, but how does technology interact with us, right? So Google is currently developing like the new next generation wave of speech synthesis, and I've heard samples of it, and it's amazing. I mean, it sounds so good. And then I don't know if you've seen the new Adobe tool where you can take an existing recording and have it analyze it and then type new words, and it will synthesize speech in that person's voice. All right, and there's some artifacts, but if you take Google's new methodology of doing it and cram it inside of Adobe software, it's going to be flawless, which is going to be just absolutely crazy. And that's happening right now. That's not even in the future, right? So I think as it comes to themed entertainment, I think what we're really going to start seeing is a lot of more personalized experiences. So imagine like being in a dark ride, you know, and you're seeing some sort of animated character from your favorite IP, and you know, each to the own person, it's saying, you know, your name, it's addressing you. And I mean, that was a proven concept by the ET ride at Universal. I mean, it was way ahead of its time, and I mean, it's, you know, it was really cool for when it came out.
How long did it live?
And it's still going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it still up?
It's still up.
That's so good to
Yeah.
hear. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it created that magic.
Exactly. And you know, now you write it now, how many years later, and it's just like, okay, well, I understand the trick here. But imagine if, you know, you were recognized by your device without you being consciously aware of that via RFID, and now you get on this ride vehicle, and then at the end, it's in the seamless character voice, it's talking to you, and now it's this personalized entertainment experience. Like that's awesome, and that's going to come.
Yeah, I've done that demo where they take a YouTube video and they do face mapping, and you can make the other person talk. I don't know if you guys have seen this. One of the demos is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I got to like control him talking, which was really bizarre to see in real time in a video, and it's pretty clean. Like I'm pretty sure, like I could send it to like my folks, and they'd be like, "Why is Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about your shoes?" Like they wouldn't know the difference.
All right, at this time, we have an opportunity for those of you that are in our audience to ask a question. If you're here with us on campus, raise your hand and we'll give you a mic. For those of you that are online, check with the online monitor and we'll try and get to your question.
All right, I'm trying to actually produce my own VR HMDs, and a lot of the rejections I get from talking to industry professionals is they bring up something called biological incompatibilities with what I'm trying to do. So I'm guessing basically I'm trying to do it without screens and headphones. Like it would be on par with Magic Leap. So they tell me that it's biologically incompatible with the technology. So what's your stance on biological incompatibilities?
Don't listen to them and do what you do. Because, you know, if you keep listening to the naysayers, then we'll never move forward. And really, it's the first time I've heard that, biological incompatibility, but that's pretty cool. But don't let them stop you.
Sorry, I'm kind of here in the front. But I kind of want to get yours' take on Google's approach to, was it Project Tango, and how they're kind of getting tracking without base stations and mapping the world. And do you think that is a viable technology moving forward to kind of get away from, hey, there's a base station in this VR environment?
I mean, HoloLens is using the same tech, and Tango is coming out in the phones. It's a very good inside-out tracking technology. The only limitation is it's very computationally intensive right now. So you can't really apply that to controllers and the headset and have it be economical right now. So that will change in a year or two when they have dedicated chips that can do that, so that you can, you know, cheaply do it. But it is a great technology because one of the biggest issues with, you know, the base station is setup, right? It's, you know, you still have to set it up, you have to set up the environment. But if you have a HMD you can just put on and it just works like, you know, like a starting your car, then you have a mass appeal product.
I think even beyond that, I think we're going to see, you know, very quickly a time when your entire environment is just mapped. You know, I think very quickly we're not going to have to worry about it. I'll get a sensor, you know, when I go like this in my house and like my drink is going to fall off the table. You know, it's not that far away. it's really not, and it'll be a matter of the computation and the refresh so that it can track, how quickly do I do something dumb, and it can give me the feedback and get through it.
A great analogy to that is Wi-Fi, right? I mean, when it first came out in 2005, no one had it, but now you expect a place to have it, and you don't even hang out in a coffee shop that doesn't have Wi-Fi.
True.
A panel coming up, or it may not even be a panel. It may just be him speaking, but Ben Grossman is a gentleman that is here to speak, and I met with him earlier today. And he is in the process with a group of folks to create a completely animated movie in virtual reality. So the director is in virtual reality, all the cameras are in virtual reality. You've got real-time puppeteers that are going to be moving characters in virtual reality. And the tracking that they're going to is the tracking that's in the HoloLens. And the word on the street is that it is so good, the integration not only with the hardware, but the algorithms that they have developed, that that tracking will be around for many years to come. But a full movie in VR, and the way they're moving the virtual camera around is mounted on a HoloLens. And that was the best technology they could find to enable them to be able to do that. But go see his talk. It'll be really interesting.
As you develop this technology, how do you personally satisfy your more primal selves that maybe
Log cabins.
become? Yeah, I mean, I'm asking, I guess, for advice. Like, what have you found to help?
Define primal.
I don't know. Like, a few hundred years ago, we needed to like crouch in the woods and attack things, and that kind of.
Are you asking about my biological compatibility?
I think so. Yeah.
Which I'm gonna totally use that expression like a million
find
different funny ways.
As personally as I'm learning more, like I really need to get out. And, like,
No, I feel you. I feel you.
Feel more like a human, and
Yeah.
I feel like it took me a while to like learn that I needed to do that because I get so involved in technology. So I guess maybe you can relate to that, but how would you?
I live on 5 acres out in the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. I live on the beach, so I spend a lot of time outdoors. Until recently, I had a dog, and that was a big part of my life and decision to live there was to be on the beach with her every day, to really ground me in nature. There's nothing more awe-inspiring than like watching the sunrise over water, and I've had that every day for the past 6 years that I've been home. A big thing for me too as an artist, and I recommend it because anyone who works in code is an artist. You're painting in language and choreography and time if this is what you do, is start finding a discipline that you like, that you don't really care if you're any good at, but that you like, and go and do pottery, go and paint pictures, write poetry, weave a basket, paint sew some shoes, do like whatever it is, like get your hands busy doing something, because other ideas will come when you quiet your mind. And that's the most important thing. When you lose your humanity, your ideas do suffer.
We have a class in here that's called Human-Computer Interaction, and we had a really interesting conversation about VR and AR in it, where we were talking about the point where the line between reality and artificial realms fades completely, and the effects that it would have, positive and negative, in the person experiencing it. 2 examples that we brought up were playing a game kind of like GTA or something like that, where you can kill people, commit crimes, do horrible stuff, but the human experiencing it wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that and it being real, and how would killing people affect somebody when they believe it's real. And the other side of the coin would be something like people that have lost their limbs and have phantom limb syndrome would be able to feel their limbs again, and it has been proven that it helps relieve pain and helps them go forward. So I kind of just wanted to hear what you guys think about it in both the bad and good aspects of it.
Well, there's a whole nother talk that is just about, I think, immersive simulations and empathy and physical reactions from those things. And it's a really important part of this industry and one that I'm really, really excited about and focused on. To your point about the killing, there's a really interesting drone documentary that just came out that I really recommend everyone watch to really understand the psychology of removed technology in warfare and some of the ramifications that are happening right now, because there are people that are in office buildings that are, running what they feel are simulations, and they are killing real people. And it's a very tenuous situation between, what makes sense and what is, necessary and what is part of the unfortunate world that we live in that does not have peace. But there is a huge mental toll that it's taking on people, and it's a very new kind of PTSD, and it's a very different kind of experience for those people. And I'm really happy that attention is finally coming to that right now. On the other side to that, and the kind of flip to like the positives and most incredible things that you can do with simulations in VR, I first became aware of the DK1 getting released. I had heard about the Oculus on Kickstarter and everything, and I had done some VR when I was here from a project that was at the University of Chicago, where a woman had shot New Orleans before and after Katrina. And this conversation for me, I understood immediately the power of empathy that you can get immersing someone in a situation. And you don't get that agency without having that presence. And it is an absolutely heart-wrenching and powerful thing. If you've ever done the experience Giant, which has come out, which is one of the best VR films that I've seen. It's all about keeping a child calm in a state of emergency. There's a really great work being done in that realm. And personally, I believe that I think it's a very personal decision what kind of content you gravitate towards. Yeah. But I'm very much violence in, violence out. So I very much gravitate to these things that nurture and build more interesting things. That said, I do love to kill monsters, but I don't like to kill people. So I get into a lot of kerfuffins with my gamer guy buddies about that. So I think there's an incredible realm. I think I'm gonna end with this. I'm a rambler. One of the best things that I've heard about VR and simulations, as far as creating that ability to have presence, I think it's from Rama Allen, and he talks about how when a person goes to see a movie about flying, they say, "I saw flying," and when a person does VR about flying, they say, "I flew." Mm-hmm. And that difference is really, really huge. And where that line is different for everyone, because it's going to take a lot more for some folks like us to really get that sensation. But when it happens, it's incredible. And you do get a little bit desensitized, to being immersed, but we keep creating new ways to immerse people. So it's exciting to see that kind of move and kind of pick everyone up and take them with us as we keep to evolving what that is.
I mean, think about it, right? It's a tool. It's like a hammer, right? You can build a house. You can smash someone's head in. It's a tool. But what's important is it's the people behind the tool, right? I mean, we're all, even with all the technology that we have, it's always the people behind the technology, how we use it, how we perceive it, how we ingest it. So it's always going to be a long question, we can list the infinite possibilities of the good, the infinite possibilities of the bad. It's a matter up to you as, a VR content creator, a future, colleague of mine, that, you shape it to how you should want it.
I agree.
Log Kevin.
We got another one.
Hello, everybody. I posed this question to all the participants on the panel. Do you feel as though excessive technological advancement has the potential to have negative consequences on humanity's capabilities, physical and mental? And if you believe so, what do you propose to combat this?
I think it goes back to what Elbert was saying. Any technology can be used for good or evil. It's just the person behind it.
Yeah, we're going to decide what the future looks like all of us, you know? So it's up to, like, what do we want to build? What do we really care about? You know, what do we want to support? I was at a really neat event in San Francisco about the reimagination of the experience of death through virtual reality that was put on in partnership with IDEO. And it was awesome to see so many other weirdos like me that believe that technology can really facilitate a transformational change in this extremely difficult part of life, both for the people who are experiencing it and for the people who love them around them. So, you know, finding those that are doing the things that speak to you, like, I mean, you could be into, like, weirdo porn VR stuff, whatever it is, but, like, get into it and, like, push that part of the industry if that's what you're into, and then that's what it's gonna be about. And if you don't want to see it go into that direction, then get involved in some other stuff.
I think for me, what I believe in, technology is a multiplier of our evolution, right? So we're very unique because no other species develops technology. But with humans, we use technology to really evolve us fast. Like if you compare us to sharks or turtles or alligators, right? They've had millions of years to evolve to where we are, but you know, we're like a fraction of where they are. And yet we've produced so much, we've done so much. So I believe, you know, like with anything in evolution, right, it could lead you to extinction or it could lead you to the next revolution. So.
Well, there's a really great expression. Have you ever heard this? Maybe you guys know who it's by, but it's 4 million years ago there was dust, and now we have opera. Ooh. I love that. Sorry.
I think to that question, I think there's going to be a shift in motivation. Like I was saying earlier, it's like, are you really that lazy to get up and turn on the light, right? And if that becomes commonplace, where I don't have to get up, it's the Wall-E problem.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
But we already have that potential right now. I mean, you go to Walmart, you don't have to walk around the store. You can get a scooter, right? But all of us are decent people, and we can walk on our own two legs, so we do. But at the same time, is okay. We're living in that age where it's like, well, I don't have to get up. I can Uber Eats now. You know, the thing I love about Dubai, by the way, is that everything delivers. The app there is Zomato. You can get any time of day, and it's like every restaurant. So I love it. Right? It's great. But it's up to me to be a motivated individual to not lay on the couch and eat fast food every day. I got to get up. I got to move. You know, I got to go to the gym. I got to work out. I got to take care of my body. And I think that's a lot of you know, mental and physical health that we're going to start having to deal with now. That the more technology we have, we need to be mentally healthy now. I can't, just because I can access all the information on Google on my smartphone doesn't mean I can be stupid. I can't walk around just not knowing anything. I got to learn something, you know. We're on this panel because we are, you know, driving forces in our industry because we research, we learn, and we're the people that set the bar. And, you know, just because I have Google in my pocket doesn't mean that I can slack, you know. So as more technology comes out, there's going to have to be a refocus on personal motivation, your personal tasks to go out, be physically fit, be mentally fit, you know, and take care of yourself in those aspects, you know, and not to become lazy, basically.
Is there an app for that?
A motivation app.
There is.
Well, I'm
Like a
sure
lot,
there
yeah.
can be some analytics on your motivation factor.
There's a lot. I think there's a lot. Okay.
Awesome. This is our last question because we are otherwise out of time.
Hi, my name's Cody Feltz. I'm from the Game Design Master's degree. I was just wondering, so we have things like Unreal and Unity that make it really easy for people to develop things for like game-wise and also now VR. How long do you think we make that jump with AR technology to be able to easily create content using things like that?
We're already there.
Already
I mean,
doing it.
they support HoloLens.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Well, so let me tell you about a particular ride that I'm dealing with right now in the theme park. They actually use the Unreal Engine to render graphics in real time on a dark ride. So you get in the ride vehicle and you have an infrared gun. All the graphics are rendered in real time on screens as you're moving through the ride, and you shoot it and you get points, right? So this is the Toy Story ride at Hollywood Studios. This is already kind of being done, so it's very easy using tools like the Unreal Engine to create real-time content that is basically interacting with you in real time, even while you're in motion on a ride vehicle.
Ben Grossman's movie, which if you go, he'll probably tell you what it is, but I don't know if I have the privilege of being able to do that. But all the tracking that's being done with the HoloLens and the whole movie is all being done in Unity. All right, folks, thank you very much. Appreciate you attending our session here, and we especially want to thank our panelists, Kim, Elbert, and Brice.
Thanks, Rob. To Rob.
And to Rob.
Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your time at Hall of Fame.
Our not so moderate moderator.
All right, please be sure to exit through the rear of the room, take all of your potential trash bags, and have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you for Hall of Fame tomorrow.
It was like a chill time.
Let's just imagine the future again. We should
This is no fair, though. I feel like I sounded dumb with both of you guys. I feel like I need like a ringer, like a real audio, like even dumber than.